It's New Year's Eve, December 31st, and my name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla with your legislative update for the day. First of all, I hope if you're watching this tonight that you are as safe as you can possibly be. Remember, New Year's Eve is one of the worst times to be out on the road because there's a lot of people out there that are driving while drunk. So if you're at a party and you've had too much to drink, cabs, Uber, Lyft, all good options, or staying somewhere and driving home in the morning, also a good option. So please try to be smart tonight and make your community safer for everybody. So our legislative session, the long 60-day session, starts in 2 weeks. And remember, in New Mexico, we only have one opportunity every other year to deal with anything that comes up. Last year was only a 30-day session where we can only talk about the budget and what the governor wants to bring up. So this upcoming year is a much more free-flowing session. And I've been working really hard trying to get my legislation worked out over the last couple of weeks and trying to a new strategy. So in the past, I would basically do a lot of bills by myself. And I'm trying this year to include other legislators, both experienced ones and new ones, dealing with the issues that I think are important. So what are we talking about here? Things like limiting the time that candidates for office are allowed to raise money and spend money in a campaign, and try to lower campaign limits that way, and also really focus people's attention on a certain amount of time instead of having these constant elections going on. Trying to limit the amount of school days that are eligible for standardized testing. Really trying to standardize health insurance ID cards to lower some of the costs of health care here in the state, and getting rid of the capital gains tax giveaway and raising the earned income tax credit. So we'll basically be getting rid of a giveaway that doesn't work in terms of taxes and replacing it with something that does work. I want to talk about some new bills that I'm going to be introducing as well. There's with some other folks. The idea for splitting liquor licenses like a stock split to allow for people to retain the value of their license, but allow for more licenses to exist in the state and allow more restaurants to open and help with tourism. This was an idea brought up in the class I taught last semester. I'm going to be looking at that. Making computer science a math or a science credit in high schools. That it's so important that we do this, and we don't right now. And I'm working with a couple other legislators on that. Aid in dying. So if you have a terminal illness and you have been diagnosed by a doctor where you are eligible for hospice, allowing you to make the decision about your own end-of-life choice, that's very important to me. And though Representative Debbie Armstrong in Albuquerque is going to be carrying the bill, I'm going to be helping with that. I'm also hopefully going to be working with Republicans on possibly 3 separate bills. The first is a independent state ethics commission. I have volunteered to Jim Dines, who's a Republican up in Albuquerque, who sponsored this bill last year with Representative Jeff Steinborn here in Las Cruces, who's now in the Senate, to help with that. I think it's really important that we do that and try to engender more trust with the people and what we do. Trying to set a certain percentage of money at the state land office to go to watershed restoration, which will allow more water to stay in our system and therefore let us use it is the most efficient way possible, is very important, as well as a possible bill to reform our GRT and broaden and lower the rates for everybody, and we're still discussing a bunch of different issues regarding that. There are 2 or 3 large bills I'm looking at as well. Obviously, for anyone paying attention, I'm involved heavily in the effort to regulate cannabis, like alcohol, to tax and regulate it. I'm looking at a couple of bills to help expand what we do down at the border. So that is expanding the hours that the border crossing with Mexico is open, as well as changing our border authority to more of a port authority, and expanding the board, some of the powers of the board, and also inviting representatives from Mexico to sit on the board, as well as representatives from our U.S. Senate offices, since what we do there involves a lot of conversations with the State Department and the federal government. I'm also going to be introducing a resolution to take $7 billion out of the state permanent fund and ask the people if it's okay, because it has to go to the constitutional amendment and you all have to vote on it, but to spend that money on infrastructure development, research and development for clean energy and water technology and early childhood education. I think I'll expand upon this more in the upcoming weeks, but we have something like $14 billion currently in our state permanent fund. It's sitting there, and we do get a little bit of the revenue back to the state government every year, but other states around us have not had large permanent funds, especially when you consider their populations. They've invested over time in their workforce, research and development institutions, and infrastructure, and they've got good economies and better than we do. So just trying to look at new ways of stimulating growth. So thanks everyone for watching this. I appreciate it. I'll be going more in depth on a lot of these things in the upcoming weeks, but I hope that everyone has, once again, a wonderful and safe new year, and I would love to answer any questions or hear any comments or concerns y'all have. Thanks, y'all.